All right, what's up, everybody? Shadow Scout 0013 here, coming in with a little bit of housekeeping real quick. If you haven't already, head on over to the Clan of Shadows Patreon, where you can get everything early. Even chat with me if you've got ideas, if you want me to go over anything. I'm definitely going to be taking the comments and things from here first, and it also really helps support the channel. It helps me to do giveaways in the future and bigger giveaways. I'm trying to basically save up so I can do a really good giveaway for all of you guys. If you haven't already, go ahead and head to the Discord. There you're going to be able to just talk to us if you've got any questions, if you need list help, if you're just thinking about a list and you want us to kind of go over it, with Uncle Owen here thinking about running this next week, feel free to post that. Kyler is in here in the GAR along with the Canadian Bear every now and then to talk about lists and list ideas. And then even with Shadow Collective, I like doing some stuff in the Shadow Collective. And if you've got lists or ideas that you need kind of hashed out, feel free to post them in there. Also, if you are a commission painter and you do commissions, then it would be awesome to get your information in here and see kind of what you do. We've already got a few people in here who have shown us what they do and everything they've painted before. Also, if you just have your own army that you've painted and you really love it, feel free to post it. It's really nice to be able to see everything that you guys do. And then lastly, head on over to theburnacademy.com. For $15 a month, you can subscribe, which is basically 50 cents a day, to have a personal trainer basically at your fingertips. And you also get 3, 4, 5, 6 day week workout programs in case, you are short on time or you have a lot of time. Or corrective exercise programs, 30-minute torture program in case you have a short amount of time. At-home workouts in case you can't go to a gym. Abs and core program that you can do at home or at a gym. Cardio circuits, 120 different recipes like vegan, Mediterranean, keto, ways to track your progress and graph it out to kind of see what you're doing, and ways to contact me to be able to ask any questions you have about it. This is a great way to make sure that you're doing everything in the gym correctly so you don't hurt yourself, and to make you look like a professional in the gym, as well as if you need to change up your style or change up what you've been doing. This is a great way to get more ideas. And this is also great for the new year. If you are trying to have a New Year's resolution where you either lose weight or you go to the gym more, why not have a plan? So this is a great way to have a plan and to kind of get into the gym and know what you're doing. Also, if you want to, you can stay in the loop and join my emailing list to get a newsletter every week. Once I get at least 5 people onto the emailing list, since I haven't actually, I haven't talked about it at all. And once I get 5 people on there, I'm going to start doing a newsletter for everybody. That way you kind of get an idea of what I like to talk about, what I do, and how I train. So, yep, that's it, guys. Hopefully you enjoy this video today. All right, what is up, everybody? So, Shadow Scout 0013 here, reporting in with Graham, Canadian Bear. And today we're going to go over packs and exactly your experience with packs in general. So, how was it? What did you think? And yeah, what was your experience like?
It was great. Last year at PAX was my first big tournament, um, so it was great getting to go back and do it again. This year is a Worlds qualifier, so a lot more pressure than last year. um, yeah, last year was we only had 5 rounds. This year we got 6, and it was over 2 days. Saturday was 4 games, and Sunday was 2 games. But it was a lot of fun, even while we were all moaning and groaning at the end of day one about our backs killing us and whatnot. But it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, hunching over a table is not the
Yeah.
best thing.
Uh, but yeah, no, it ended. My record improved from last year, so that was great. Last year, I was 34th overall and 2 and 3, and this year I was 14th overall and I was 4 and 2. So
That's a great
uh,
turnaround, big time.
yeah, I was happy when I got the third win. I was like, at least I'm breaking even. But yeah, no, it was great. All the opponents were fantastic. Nick has lots of experience running great events, big or small. So um, yeah, no, it was great.
Did you get to face any of the finalists or top 5 people at all?
My game 2 was against um, one of the guys that was in the final game. because we just did 6 rounds of Swiss and we didn't have a cut. Um, he actually dropped down to fourth, but the real like second place was the 8-act Wookiee list with the 5 like melee shields and whatnot. But we can go over that more when I guess when we get there.
Yeah. All right. Well, if you want to go ahead and talk about um, the first battle, we can go ahead and talk about that and what list that one was and what went down.
Um, so that game was against Josh, uh, Fluffy Source, uh, from Capo Capos. I believe like he's a well-known player. He's up until this year he was based out of Oregon, I believe, if not Washington. Um, but earlier this year he had moved over, um, and he was running a Yoda Clone Commander Padme with 2 full arcs instead of opting for the 2 and a strike and not having the Clone Commander. But he had one with Echo and one with a DC-15, and then an RPS squad, C6 phase 1 and a mortar in a phase 2. Um, we ended up going for recover major in clear conditions, and um, part I'm not gonna lie, part of that win came down to some, I wouldn't say bad defensive dice on his part, because I was able to on turn 2 um, one shot one of the full arcs, and then I was able to bring his other full arc down to just Echo in the same turn.
That's awesome.
So that was kind of gross, but it was just dice volume rolling averages, and I was able to get those shots in before he was really able to generate more surges than just the 2 that he natively starts with.
Now, when you were going up against that list, you already kind of probably knew what Yoda was capable of and what Padme is capable of, and either also if they needed to guidance you probably guidance quick thinking and then guidance on the 1 pip turn the commander probably for an extra bunch of surges if they needed to. What did they do with Yoda and Padme and the clone commander? Because the clone commander I never really see very often. You usually see 2
Mm-hmm.
arcs. So what was the point of that commander really?
Just setting up more fire sports on like the Yoda 2 and 1 pip probably, because he doesn't have C's on Padme, so that's probably like what he was going for in that case. The thing that like I noticed is he tried to keep Padme and Yoda up or back a little bit more, so they were playing more catch up with the core and the special forces for his list. Um, so at least for like Padme's, there was a little bit of line of sight issue, so it wasn't really able to share tokens as effectively. But she wasn't really ever going early enough to be, and I was able to capitalize on that and get in there before he would build up his tokens. Um, I also had like a nice building, relatively small, but nice enough where I can move up my guys enough to get in there and uh, climb up and over and get to the middle box fast enough. Um, yeah, Wookiees are gross in recover. I found because that came into play later on because there are just so many wounds and like I'm just gonna keep running. You deal 3 wounds, I only lose 1 guy.
Yeah, that's fantastic about
Um,
Wookiees.
but yeah, being able to take out those 2 arcs and later on, I killed both phase 1s later on, and the phase 2 was down to just the unit leader. Um, but getting rid of the arcs early enough really set the tempo and was making it a lot easier to um, manipulate um, the the amount of damage that was going to be coming into me. So now sharpshooter's not as much of an issue. So I'm getting full cover on more shots and whatnot. Um, he did like unfortunately for him, I had a single guy left in my RPS squad that was holding a box in turn 5, and he shot and killed it with, I believe, either Padme or no, Echo peeked out and shot him and killed him. But it was early enough in the round where my 5 health Z6 squad was able to move in, claim the box, and Yoda was able to move in and base my guys, but he had to double move, so we only got one charge off for that, which then stopped him from being able to kill the unit in full, which then allowed me to just stay there in melee with Yoda. That box is safe. Echo is very safe with his one box. Even though Echo almost died, he was on 1 wound from the first turn, so Echo scared me in the very early stages, but he was able to hide with my other box, and then I had a Wookiee also on just a single wound that was hiding behind another line of stop blocker. So all of my boxes were very vulnerable, but they were all very safe.
Man, that's playing it close.
Yeah. Josh is a great player. I believe, if I remember correctly, he placed very well, if not 1 Nova. I'd have to double check on that one.
Okay.
But no, he's really good. So that was a very sweaty game. And yeah, I'm glad that was the only Yoda I faced the whole weekend.
Now, you play Yoda all the time, which is awesome. So you really know the ins and outs, and you've definitely gotten better with that list. What would you say maybe his top mistake was, or maybe a few different mistakes that you definitely noticed that he did that kind of gave you the advantage?
So the difference between the arc list and the Wookiee list is the arc list has an easier time being more laid back to where it can take its time to develop its tokens. It doesn't necessarily have to rush forward as much, whereas like the Wookiees have a lot of health, but they don't have the same token generation, and they don't get token sharing with the other clones, and so I don't have that backbone to rely on. So I have to be more aggressive with my Wookiees anyways, and get those fire supports going earlier. So I think between that and just Padme being a little too far back was what I was able to capitalize on. Because yeah, for every turn except for turn 1 was a roll off. And it was Yoda card to Yoda card to Yoda card.
It's like the same idea about what to do.
Yeah, there wasn't really much of an option for either of us. It was pretty much like, for me, there's no reason for me to play anything else. I don't have any other named characters. But the other one was, yeah, with just Padme being too far back really to help early enough was the other thing, I think.
Okay.
And yeah, Josh was runner up at Nova, so yes, he's very good.
Nice. Now, what was I about to say? Never mind. All right, I don't want to just sit here and waste time thinking about it. But man, I don't know why I can't think of it anymore. Oh well, we'll just move on, or I'll move on instead, and maybe when I think about it, I'll come back.
Come back to it.
Yeah. Oh, who was more on the offensive versus defensive? Like, so who needed to basically take out a unit first in order to get the upper hand?
Right, because we were both 800, so we rolled. I believe he was going to win on ties, if I remember correctly. Or no, I think I was going to win on ties because he won the roll off to decide if he wanted to be red or blue. which it's weird that we have to do that, but it's so much nicer than waiting for the roll off at the end and like knowing who's going to win if nothing else happens.
Right.
But yeah, no, he had to be the aggressor, and I was able to like catch the arcs kind of further up with their scouting. So with that line of sight blocker, I was able to get everything moved up to be more to counter his aggression. What is the old saying? Best defense is a good offense.
Big time.
So that was definitely what I had to use in that match.
Okay. How did your second game go?
Second game was against, like I was saying before, the Wookiee list that, or one of the three Wookiee lists actually, because there were two other ones that were, and all of them were very different. This is Richard Lavery, also, or he's from Crit to Block. We were doing Intercept Major, and I opted for Limited because I didn't really worry too much about losing out on a turn because besides my RPS and Echo, everything else is range 3 anyways. So unless he gets super aggressive, I wasn't going to be able to shoot him more than likely. Maybe that was a little bit of a mistake, but at the same time, I didn't want to put myself out of position too much. But it didn't really matter because, man, we both talked about it afterwards, and I definitely had some weaker dice rolls. They didn't pop, or they didn't show up like they normally would, with the dice pools and the amount of aims and whatnot. Because it was the final score was 9-1 in his favor.
Oh man.
The end of the game, I only had Yoda left. Everything else was dead. And I killed 4 of the melee Wookiee units, but they all have their shields, and getting down to like 2 Wookiees and 1 only has a wound left, and you swap it back in defensive stance, and you're only throwing 2 dice at a time into melee against them. That's infuriating. I will not deny that. Armor 1 in melee when you have such small dice pools is aggravating.
Oh yeah, it's like cover 3 in. Oh, not cover 3. Sorry. It's like having cover 1 in melee.
Yeah. But that was great. I mean, we talked a lot about that game, and we both had each other very nervous because we were both asking about who we played the first round. And I told him who I played. He's like, "Oh no, I need to watch out for you." It's like, yeah, we'll see. But I know he has 93 wounds in his list. I think is what it is. It's something else.
Yeah, 93 wounds with armor.
Mm-hmm.
That's insane.
And one thing I forgot to mention: first round had a crazy match, and I feel it's crazy that it happened like this. But I believe there were only 2 Braintree lists, and they both faced off in round 1.
Wow. What are the odds?
It was a 14-act, more so Ewok focus list, and then a 12-act with some like full commandos instead of all like only Ewoks. And yeah, I wish I could have watched that game.
Man, that would have been good to. Yeah, that would have been good to see. Just kind of how almost a mirror match. Kind of see which one is the better one. Do you know which one wound up winning that one?
It was the 14-act list.
Okay.
I believe he ended up 4-2. I think Chris left 4-2 for the day. Yeah, he was 4-2, but he was the top 4-2. He also ended up playing my round 2 opponent later on as well, which that was hilarious because they were right behind me at one point, and just seeing a bunch of knee-high Ewoks running into Wookiees is hilarious.
I was about to say, even the scale difference is insane to see just on the table.
Yes.
Oh my god, that's great. Yeah, those Wookiees and Ewoks, it's just kind of like you've got like a 7 health unit versus almost a 9 health unit. And because of what, 3, 6, 9, maybe up to 12 if there were 4. Uh, or like maybe up to 8. So and they don't surge defense. So it's really just kind of seeing who's got the better dice pools. And I think what Wookiees would have the better dice pool because there's what 2, 4, 6, possibly 8. Well, I guess maybe
Yeah,
tenacity.
the Ewok list had a maximum of 7 models in any particular unit. He never did the full 8 because he just didn't have the points for it.
Okay.
But yeah, they both have Pierce 1 and melee effectively. So they're both rolling the worst dice in melee or defensively. So it's just whoever got to punch first, and from what I understand, Richard was able to get the first punches in. So that kind of like shifted the game, but that was a 6 act difference. So he's
Yeah.
only 8 acts, and the Ewoks are 14, so 6. But he walked away from the table when they were done, when they were setting up. He's like, "Okay, you got 6 more to put down. I'm going to go over here."
I'm just gonna go relax, chill, have a coffee, and then come back.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, that seems like a lot of fun. Yeah, that list seems intimidating, especially with those like bowcaster Wookiees and 5 battle shield Wookiees.
Yeah, he was saying the shooty Wooks were really there just for cleanup. For like, if someone kills a melee Wookiee, they're waiting till the end and they just shoot whatever survived.
Seems pretty easy and legit. All right, and then your third one. Your
So at this point, I'm 1-1, and so is my opponent. But we were it was I've had a curse against Rebels. I couldn't figure out how to, like, they didn't matter what I did. Rebels always beat me
mm,
for the past year.
wow.
So he's playing a Echo-based defender list with Commander Luke, Push, Battle Med, Prepared Supplies, 3 Mark IIs, 3 vets with CMOs. One had an officer in there for some Inspire, and then 4 Barrage FDs. I learned something from this game where I never thought about battle meditation being used to give an order to Luke on a turn where he wouldn't be getting an order from a card he's issuing. So that was pretty interesting.
How so? What do you mean?
Because battle meditation lets you give an order to something that's not named on the card. And normally that's Luke giving an order to something else so that they can get priority and get control. But he actually used that in the inverse, which was pretty cool.
Never even thought about that. It just
Yeah,
does.
it's so obvious when you think about it. And I'm like, what? Why? isn't that as obvious as it actually is?
Yeah.
Um, but this game we had played key position, battle lines, and supply drop. I was able to leverage some ruins which had the FDs or the Mark IIs been next to, they could still see over, but just barely. So my guys were all able to hide there for a good portion. And I was able to just pick off, for the most part, the movable units. At one point, Luke got in there and forced pushed some guys into some open shots from FDs, but thankfully I survived the hold at any cost turn and was able to capitalize on that.
What'd you do for that one? Because I know like rushing in, especially with that card or when they play that card, is insane. It's hard.
Um, Pretty much I had a Wookiee that was on a single wound, and most of my stuff was safe from the FDs because at this point I had killed one FD and there was only 3 left, and the angles were pretty bad for them to get at anything. Um, so I had a 1 health Wookiee model double move into melee with one of the Mark IIs. So at the very least, I'm stopping it from shooting something else, and I think there's only 1 more Mark II at this point. And unfortunately, that punch kills the 1 Wookiee, but it's like at the end of the day, that's fine because I still had enough stuff to capitalize on the KPs. But So he only got one other shot off as far as like a standby shot. So that helped a lot.
Yeah.
The weird thing was we swapped KPs that we had placed ourselves. So I ended up taking his safe KP and he took mine.
That's one way to do
or
it.
he was going to, but he didn't. I, if I hadn't mentioned it a few times, I would feel bad about it. But I had mentioned, okay, this is probably going to be our last turn. This is going to be our last turn when we were playing command hands. And he was, even though I had said that, in his head, he's mixed up in the game. And like even saying it later, it's like I didn't play for last turn. I played for I had one more turn. Because I was able to, with my Echo, peek out, safe from the FDs, and take out his unit leader that was sitting on my KP. So then I was able to win the game 2-0. But that was Luke getting in there was scary, but Wookiees have a lot of health and it's Commander Luke, so it's only 6 dice each time. So it's not the worst.
Yeah, and this is a little tangent, but what do you think between Commander Luke and Operative Ahsoka? They both throw 6 in melee. They don't have Master of the Force at all, but at least Luke has, 2 Force slots the same, but a gear slot instead of training slots, and a ranged attack at least on that. What And at least Luke has 6 cards versus Ahsoka's 3 cards. Who would you be more afraid of, Ahsoka or Commander Luke?
I think overall Ahsoka, just because of the what's the name of their
The 1 pip,
mastery?
the Jarkai, where it's like you can
Yeah,
manipulate the dice.
yeah, the dice fixing. Because if she could have gotten it, like if Ahsoka can get into Yoda, Yoda's only 5 health. That's really scary. If I can't do anything about that, like my Guardian's now useless for my Boil Squad, and um, I have like dodges and whatnot, but still, it's and over 1 pip, she can get to if she goes the tenacity route. That's 10 dice that she can potentially fix. It gets a lot scarier. I feel like.
Okay, so I guess as like a Yoda player, you're more scared of Ahsoka getting into Battle Yoda than at least Luke or anyone like that. What about even Operative Luke?
Operative Luke, maybe probably more just because of the double attacking on Son of Skywalker, which I was concerned that he was going to play the other. I believe it's the other 1/5. The you serve your master well in this game, where he's, or is it? A, I am a Jedi. Is that the 3/5 where it's like you can't attack or something like
Yeah, the
that?
3 pip I am a Jedi is where you can't attack, and the 1 pip is the you serve your master well. He can manipulate an opponent's suppressed.
I I was worried about those 2 cards the most because if he plays that on a Yoda 3 pip, then he can use one of my units to spend all of my tokens.
Yeah, that's right.
um, but then also on like the late turn, if I can't attack with majority of my stuff, like it gets a little bit more sketchy in the middle objective. Um, but yeah, uh, it was a good game, but yeah, definitely not playing for the last turn and playing for thinking you have another turn was a big swing in that game. Uh, but happy I finally broke my rebel curse.
Well, that's good, especially on Echo Base. I mean, again, they're really good at defending and have a lot of good firepower, especially at long range.
I think that was the other thing. I was able to kill Luke the turn before Hold at Any Cost was played. So that definitely saved my skin there. Because if he could have force pushed Yoda out or something like that into BFDs, then that's a little bit different.
The best thing about force push, like being able to force push someone into a bunch of standbys.
Yes.
As you would know, setting up Wookiees with standbys and then pushing into them.
Oh no, I would never do that.
Yeah, but and then the rest of that game, I didn't know if there was anything else in that game that you had anything to take away that.
um, don't think so. I think uh, crit spam is obnoxious, especially because I have no, besides barrier, I have no crit mitigation. Um, so Boyle was very healthy towards the end of that game because he couldn't guardian anything.
And was he on a phase 2 or phase 1?
Phase one.
Okay,
Yeah, so I don't have. Yeah,
protector.
there's no way to get the training upgrade on him in a phase one, and I don't have the points for. I don't have 13 points to spare.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah,
Well, that's
it is what it
understandable.
is.
You just gotta roll crits in those games sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Well,
he was rolling like 4 crits or more between the critical and whatnot. It was gross.
yeah. Even when I'm facing the T21s and stormtroopers, and they're just only rolling white dice for some reason, a minimum of like 3 crits just come on through. So I can only imagine with black dice the amount of crits that could have been rolling. I mean, it's the same
I think at
odds,
one
but
point, a group of us were talking about mortars and just laughing about if you fire support with the shore mortar, no crits are rolled, but if you just shoot the mortar, it rolls 3 crits between critical and natal crits.
yeah, that's just how the game works. That is
Yep.
a mechanic.
Yeah.
Dang. Yeah, but the critical is insane. I like the amount of crits that can be generated because then you don't really have any anti armor in that
Mm-hmm.
besides the FDs.
Yeah. And I will say, suppressive came in pretty big on a turn or two, because even though I've got Indomitable on the Wookiees, just the amount of suppression they had on them. I think one had 8 at one point. Um, I mean, I was still able to roll off 5, but that's still only one move, one action. And oh man, that was. I started getting nervous seeing these suppression stack up, and it's like I don't know if I can get into position and run away from these FDs or not.
Even with guidance, I'm sure that was difficult because you can only do that maybe once, possibly twice.
Yeah, and there were other things that like needed to be guidance more than that the one unit. So, yeah, it, it got a little sketchy there.
Yeah, luckily Courage 4 can really come in handy when you've got a ton of suppression like that.
Yes, and red rally dice.
Definitely. Well, cool. The experimental droids, that one looks pretty insane. I don't know if that was your next one or not, but
Yeah, that was the next one.
okay, okay,
Um, that was against Corey Satili from the Inglorious Blasters.
okay.
Uh, we've been at a few local events together, but this is the first time we actually got to play, and so it was great. We were laughing, having a great time, and he's got this little B1 that he brings everywhere with him that's playing a piano, and he lets his opponent place it somewhere on the map, just so it's hanging out there watching everyone.
Yeah, okay, that's him. Okay, I've seen that quite a
Yes,
bit. That's a good one. That's a good little mini.
yes. Um, and he also has a joke with one of the judges that is always at like Nick's events. Uh, his name's David. Great guy. Very funny. He's always coming around making jokes at the tables. But for whatever reason, if he compliments Corey, Corey loses. But if he insults Corey, Corey wins. So I was telling David, you better be insulting him. He's like, no, give me compliments. And he gave him compliments, so Corey won.
Ah,
But it was a great game. It was payload and battle lines and minefield, and Corey's list has Kalani with aggressive tactics and comms relay, two PK Binoc B1s, two B2s, one has a Ha, one's naked, Three Droidicas, two of them have linked targeting array, and then two of the commandos with the sniper, offensive push, and shields. And his peekaboo game was strong.
How so?
There was a lot of heavy cover on this map, a lot of line of sight blocking, and his droidicas are built to be line of sight blocking. So there were a few times where, again, like my fire sport big shots into the BXs after the shields, after Impervious and the aggressive tactics surge, I killed 2 BXs per shot, and they would then go the next turn and run down behind the building because they could scale, and then they would get repaired back to full with the B1s.
Wow.
um,
That's mean.
I knew it was coming too. I was like, I've played against a similar list, but it was 3 BXs, all built the same way, and no droidicas, and it is just demoralizing playing against a list with these BXs. I could honestly see the extra dice and aim are great. Don't get me wrong, but I could totally see 3 of them with even more repair droids becoming a thing in regular droid lists. But yeah, it's
Yeah, the offensive push and the shields and being able to like, so you spend a surge token 1 round to be able to gain a black and a white at range 5, and then the next round recover, use a surge token for an aim, and then shoot, and then again just rinse and repeat the entire time. And
yeah. And he never shot at range 5. It was always range 3.
oh wow,
Yeah, so it was the full. What's the dice pool
two,
then?
four,
2
six,
red, a
8.
black, and 9 whites, I think. Yeah, because it's 4 regular guys and then the extra white die.
Ugh.
With surge hit and an aim from offensive push, it is a lot.
Holy crap. But I mean, what are the odds? I mean, you've got 9 white dice, a red and a black, but and targeting no targeting scopes.
No, but that the surge to hit and then also the aims that he would get from the electric binocs and strategize. Most of the shots had 3 aims on them, if not, I think one even had 4. It was awful.
Man, yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, he was able to kill Yoda in this game before Yoda was setting up to be able to play the 1 pip to charge in and just start distracting the BXs. We both ended up scoring our payload to 1-1, but kill points. I only killed the 2 droidicas with link targeting array, so I only killed 150, and he killed 406.
Oh,
So, yeah.
I guess he just like took as many shots as possible into Yoda.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Not really, but for whatever reason, Yoda for me seems to love to survive big dice attacks, hates to survive small dice attacks. So it's like I've killed a droideka, so there's only one left, so it's chucking its 3 dice, kind of thing, and that's what does in Yoda. It's like, are you kidding me?
On-surging dice into Yoda to kill him. Man. Because I'm always wondering myself how to go after Yoda. I mean, a lot of people usually tend to ignore him, but
if you can, and he's not hiding behind LOS terrain, focus Yoda. That, especially in a list like mine where it's like a solo hero list, and it's like I have a clone commander for an extra courage bubble, but it's really there for the direct. And yeah. Yeah, that's also a game where it's like I opted for payload. I could have gone recover, and Yoda's great at recover. because of the double moving with the unit you're going with, and then the claim and move with the double guidance. But it was I opted for payload because I didn't think I'd be able to compete with the BX's Scout 3 up and then getting the free Speed 3 improvement by spending a surge for them to claim and then hold out and try to run away again. So, yeah. But that was great. Yeah, Corey was a great opponent. Everyone this week was just fantastic.
Well, that's cool. I like seeing the fact that everyone is actually really nice and very sportsmanship. The sportsmanship is awesome to see as well.
Yeah, it's there. There are events that are probably equal to PAX, but I would say there's not an event out there better than PAX.
Even the LVO and all that stuff.
I'd say they're equal, probably. I've never been to LVO, but as like LVO is probably you're going there for Legion, but outside of like just going to PAX for Legion, there's also the con. So if you can, you want to make sure you're there for the Friday too, so you can really experience stuff. Unless you like your wallet and don't want to spend a whole bunch of money, then only come for Legion.
Yeah, especially during the holidays, it's gonna be getting tough, and
Yeah.
I'm only.
Then you can do Christmas shopping.
That is true. Christmas shopping for all of your Legionnaires.
Yes.
Well, yeah, you had 2 more games.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to go ahead, I mean, we can real quick keep going if you want.
Yeah. Yeah. So then, so that was the end of day 1. Day 2 started off with we were both 2-2 at this point, and I was going up another Gar player, Joseph, and he was playing a 9-act Anakin, Clone Commander, Anakin Throw, Push, and Stance, Clone Commander Lead by Example, Naked Padme, Phase 1 with an RPS and Boil, a Naked Phase 1, 2 DC-15 Phase 1s, but one also had a Medic, a Strike Team with the DC-15, and then a full arc with Echo.
It's a very interesting,
Yes.
very interesting build.
And I totally forgot this. I was reminded of this in my first game, that Echo has the leader keyword. So even if he's in a full arc, he's the leader. And in my head, it's like, no, the strike team makes him the leader because he's the heavy weapon. It's like, oh, right. He just is the leader, so he will always live last. Yeah. So that threw me off my game in my first game, but this one at this point now I know this, I remember this, so it's like, okay, I can work around this now. I understand how many wins I actually need to do to get rid of Echo. And this was, we opted for, he actually had the bid, he had a 2-point bid, and he wanted to pick tableside, which I get. I think he probably picked the right table edge, but I think he let me get a really favorable deployment and objective that kind of took away from his deployment zone and actually made his deployment zone or his table edge a hindrance. Because we got sabotage moisture valves, major offensive and supply drop, and I was able to, by turn 1, I had both of my VAPs fully tapped between 2 units going up to 1 and tapping it twice, and my Echo scouting up, then moving and tapping once, and then getting guidance to tap it a second time. And we talked about it afterwards, and he agreed that like he put his stuff too far back in his deployment zone. If he had been more aggressive, the game would have been more, would have been closer.
Why do you think he kind of stayed back a little bit more?
I think he wasn't. He's friends also with my round 2 opponent or my round 3 opponent, and his friend had warned him about the Wookiee fire supports. So I think that might have gone into his head a little bit.
It makes sense, yeah, because I mean, you don't
Yeah.
want to just dive in and kill all your units.
Unfortunately, that's what happened because he pretty much fed them to me one at a time.
There you go, guys.
Um,
Never do that.
yes.
Just 101. Don't feed them one unit at a time.
Because with Major and um, Sabotage, I was able to put mine as far. One was on the edge of the table, or on my short side of the table, and then the other one was just the minimum range 2 away. So as far back from him as possible. And my guys were able to then uh, get that done in turn 1, move back, and I had a nice big rock outcropping, which, depending on the angles, wasn't line of sight blocking, but with the angles that we had from the approach that he had to come from, they were line of sight blocking. And his deployment, he had to run behind and pop out around 3 different LOS blockers. So he was had to take shorter routes to like kind of like go like this around like the obstacles so he could get behind line of sight cover. And then once he finally got to within range of me, he would pop out, take a shot, and then my guys are already set up. I have Guardian easily accessible. At this point, I probably have bolstered and put more surges out there. I've got Force Guidance on my Yoda now, so I had his surges out there. And if on the 3-pip, I just kept giving him dodges and whatnot, so it's like none of my stuff is going anywhere. Um, and I was pretty much just able to take a unit off each shot, even, uh, yeah. And then his Anakin got in. He tapped my VAP and then pulled one of my units in to bubble wrap him. But he had his 2 other units that were trying to do the same thing to tap my VAP too close, so I was able to. And Anakin's only on 1 wound at this point, just unaimed punch with my 5-man squad and dealt. I only rolled 1 hit, but that was enough.
Oh my
Or no,
god.
sorry, I did roll 4 hits. He actually had to make saves, but he blanked on 1, which is all I needed. And then they were able to move in, contest another one. My Wookiees were able to move up, and he had position stuff with a force push, so only one thing could get in there and touch it. And I wouldn't be able to move up with a second unit, but because of Yoda, force guidance with the same Wookiee unit, and now I'm back up again. So, yeah.
You make a very good, compelling case why to always just bring Yoda for everything.
I mean, the tournament was won by Anakin, Padme, and Pikes, so it's.
But you didn't have to face that list either. So, I mean,
No.
that
I've played Sam before, but I have not played that list. But he's one of those people that is a curse for Rebels with me because he beat me with Devil Ton and Din at a previous tournament.
an interesting combo, I feel like.
It's nastier than it seems. It's a lot of fast moving things with long range, also to back it up.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was game 4. Uh, and this was the game where right behind us was the 14 act Ewok list was going up against my second round opponent with the 8 act Wookiees. And from what I understand, Richard at that point was able to get the first punch in with his Wookiees, which really made up the 6x difference. Because I kept turning around and just seeing more and more fur on the side of the board instead of on the board. It was. I would have loved to watch that one too.
Yeah, just seeing minis getting obliterated off the board.
Hmm.
That was a furry little table then.
There was a lot of fur at this event.
I'm glad everyone's embracing Ewoks and Wookiees. I mean,
Yeah.
it's nice to see the different battle forces coming along, and the new things they're introducing into the game.
Uh, and this last game,
Uh
I uh, um, I I have never been so sweaty and nervous in a game before. I was shaking with these dice rolls
for the dice rolls, not because
for
of
the dice.
the
Yeah.
units.
Uh, oh, it was so. What it was Callus with underworld connections and the bow rifle, Aiden with just her rifle, whichever she wanted. It was three strike teams with the sniper, three storms with HH-12, and then Bosk with Hunter and O-Push, so doubling up on the aims for this one, and then Boba Fett. So he's got two bounty hunters out there. um, and Boba had up close Hunter and his flame projector. And this game only went to turn two because my opponent conceded after turn two or during turn two. Um, Travis, we'd been at other events also, but never got to play each other. I'm sorry, this is how we got to play each other for the first time.
How did that happen? How
Uh,
did that go down so quick?
so he didn't know that Yoda's force guidance, or that his guidance keyword effect is actually every action and not just every action on your unit card. So that includes objective actions. So he didn't know that I could move up with my Wookiees twice. He could have them claim it and then run back, and they were able to actually get behind some LOS cover. And turn one, I also had both of my other boxes. Um, but Yoda was on one wound by the end of turn one.
What?
Because his snipers and Iden only rolled crits.
Man, that's probably the only
um,
time in history that you're going to see Imperial snipers rolling crits.
they were, if they didn't roll two crits, they only rolled one crit, but they never rolled a hit, so it was either crits or nothing.
Figure go home, right? High risk, high
Yeah.
reward.
uh, and like he got a good shot in with Bosk. It was three crits. This is like Yoda has one or two wounds left at this point, and or no, he has three wounds at this point. So he's got two left, and he blocks two of the three and is alive on one wound. And from that point on, Yoda refused to die. um,
I guess it just swung
and
back in your
so,
favor.
yeah, um, and turn two comes around. He plays. I opted for Yoda's 3 pip just for tokens because on the turn one, obviously, I played the 1 pip to do the double guidance. And he played Boba Fett's Whipcord on turn two. And turn one was also the extra black die from Boba. So the snipers were throwing three, Item was throwing three. Is a lot.
Yeah, that
um,
the snipers with
yeah,
that card is really really good, and I feel like that's what you
yes.
really want to set up with any of those Boba card. You want to just always set that up.
And Yoda, he had. I was able to kill both Boba and Bosk on that turn, on turn two, and Yoda survived from an Iden shot, which was the last shot that he had on me. So at that point, with Yoda surviving and both the bounty hunters down, he didn't think he'd be able to catch up to my guys running away. And I had some good LOS pieces, so I could really hunker down behind them if I needed to at that point. Um, and because Boba had gone first before my Wookiees, and he had immobilized them. When they activated, they just sat there and shot Boba, and then the immobilize is gone, which he also had thought that it was not the turn that the immobilize went away, it was the next turn. But because of the order of when his Boba activated and my unit activated, because the Wookiees hadn't gone first, the immobilize was gone after that activation.
Okay.
So
Yep.
they could have run away during turn 3 instead of having to wait till turn 4.
Man.
So yeah, it's
Did Callus do
I love
anything
it.
in that game?
He took some shots he took a couple shots into the Wookiees, I think, is what it was. But also, I it was either crits or it was, or it just went to cover. So he did some wounds, but it wasn't a whole lot.
He just doesn't throw enough to go into Wookiees, I feel like.
Yeah, but that's what makes them such good box carriers. But yeah, that was game 6. So ended 4-2. I was happy. I was positive, if not even, and then ended up working out where I got 8th out of the 24 Gar players I think we had.
Oh, that's awesome.
Which meant I got the Altar Anakin card.
You have an alt art
Which,
Anakin? Have I seen that? Have
yeah.
you? Which one's that
I
one?
thought I posted on Discord. I might not have. Actually. Here, let me post it in general. There we go. Top 32 also got an Ewok skirmisher cards, but I don't see myself ever playing Ewoks. So I opted to give that to David Zelenka, or Endless, that does most of the YouTube's, or now
Nice.
YouTube streaming,
Yeah.
for the big events. So he loves Ewoks. He was the one running the 12-act Ewok list. So I was like, I'm never going to use this. So here, please, Grish, take this off my hands.
Oh, I'm sure he was super happy about that.
Oh yeah, he had a few people handing him cards. It was great. But yeah, that Anakin card is something else.
Yeah, I really like it. They just need Dooku's head somewhere in the background.
Yes, I mean that Dooku card is also really good. I love the smugness.
Yeah. Wow.
Um,
Dang, that's such a good one. But it sounds like you had such a great experience. I'm glad that you went 4-2 instead of the I think it was like 2-3 you said last time. So definitely big improvement, and you said you've definitely learned a lot more, and I feel like you're better at piloting this list now, and you probably feel a little bit more confident in Yoda.
I mean, to give you context, when I played at PAX last year, that was just before the exemplar nerf where they could no longer share standbys. So my list at that point was built around that idea.
I it doesn't believe that was like even a year ago. It seems like almost 2 years
Yeah,
ago at that point.
exactly.
But that's such a horrible nerf. I like it. Don't get me wrong. I'm glad it is that way now.
Yes.
But man, what a time to be alive and playing
And
Rebels
I will
or
still say,
Republic.
now that I know everyone was asking for a Padme buff after she lost that ability, but she can go back. She can go back to 90 points. She can just get her gun free like everyone else.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that would be a bad idea.
Yeah. Especially Ewoks can steal her or her gun anyways. It's not a big deal.
Oh man,
It's not unique.
Did you see a lot of that in there? Did you see a lot of the of those? I think there's what you can only bring it like twice or something, maybe, or is that called arms?
Called Arms is only twice.
Did you
You can
see?
bring that one as many times as you like, but I don't think anyone ran it
Okay.
because there's not a whole lot of units out there that you want to steal stuff from, anyways.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
What about
it's
at
just the
least
ones that. Oh
turning?
god.
What about turning one of the Dark Troopers into just a normal, the heavy into like a normal little gun?
As hilarious as that is, they still have to make it there.
True. True.
Um, if there wasn't the prospect of them possibly getting shot twice, yes.
Makes
um,
sense.
I live for that to possibly happen someday. That would probably be more likely in a regular Rebel list than a Bright Tree list.
Okay.
Because then you can throw them in the bus and then they can hop out of the bus and just steal the weapons.
Ooh, that's a really good idea.
But then you're going like super hard counter meme list.
Yeah, because you're really looking for something to do some damage out of that bus and not just steal a gun and
Yeah.
slingshot them.
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah. I mean, it sounds like a great experience, and sounds like you've got a lot of cool stuff. I mean, those dice are really nice. Is that the Baron dice, or is that the?
These are, if I'm not mistaken, they're the same dice from last year.
Okay,
It's the clear red dice. I think, honestly, I think they're just trying to clear out their stock.
probably. They
um,
can send that stuff to
but
me. I don't mind.
yeah, yeah. I know. I joined like so late into like the competitive scene. It's like, oh man, I finally have them. There's
Yeah,
finally a chance.
it's like, are you truly competitive if you don't have clear dice? I don't have clear
I
dice,
did
but
have one opponent say, "Hey, can we not use the clear white dice because I can't see them?"
yeah, those actually are kind of tough to see, and
Yeah.
I usually tend to never use third-party dice or like other dice other than what you would get from the Legion stuff. I don't know if it's superstition or I don't know if it's just even though they're clear and they're not weighted or anything. It's just
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's probably just like it's consistency. You don't have to, um, like if there is a manufacturer defect, everyone's got the same one, kind of thing. That's probably what it comes down to. But then it's also we're gamers. We're always superstitious.
Yeah. Um. Well, cool. I know there's gonna be another time where I want some more advice on and Yoda and stuff, but I definitely wanted to get your recount on PAX and how you did and the things that you saw. And if there was like any words of wisdom or anything else that you would bestow upon everybody else about the different lists or even combos that you kind of saw that either surprised you or if there was anything like that. I don't know if there was for you.
um, I will say my last game I was also super nervous about because it's Callus. It wasn't Boba or Boss that had me like nervous on the onset, although like the clone commander makes me nervous with those two lying around. It's the Callus 2 pip. I really did not want him to mess me up. So I'm sorry the game ended like that, but I'm so happy I didn't have to deal with that card. Because otherwise, there was a few Hans there, and I'm very happy I dodged those, but they were so I don't have to deal with sorry or
Sorry about
change
the
of
mess.
plans.
Oh, change of plans. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Um,
Oof.
but depending on the objective, if it's like a turn one play, which I think that card tends to be, I think there's a way that you can psych it out, and it's just like it's a wash either way.
Mm-hmm.
But for the late game plays, then it gets messy.
Yeah. Because that's when
Um,
things really come down to the wire, and you need that command card, that one pip or that two pip that
mhm.
gives relentless, something like that.
um, yeah, but overall, it's a great time. Like if anyone is ever like debating about if they want like a first event, like big event to go to, or they want to start looking at bigger events, if you can find a way to make it out to PAX, absolutely make PAX the one. Um, and do come on Friday so you can actually experience PAX. Because if it's going to keep being a Worlds qualifier, you ain't seeing it any other time. The rest of the stuff at all.
Oh, yeah. Well, because you're going to be so busy playing. I feel like
Yeah,
that's just the
because
toughest part, splitting your time.
yeah, you have about like if you get in line early enough, you have the first hour, assuming that you don't get stuck in lines per day. So that's really it. And you don't want to be there the whole hour. You want to be there. You only really have 30 minutes if you get there in on time. So yeah.
Well, cool, man. I'm glad that you had such a great time and got to
Mm-hmm.
see all those people again. And hopefully you'll be able to get that chance again because you don't have. Do you know for sure about your World's invite already?
So there's weirdness there where I'm pretty sure I should be good now. But AMG never responded to the guy from a previous event. They said they would by the end of the month, and it is now December. So, from what I understand, what we're doing is someone that was going to get a potential pass down if he got an invite from another event, um, got an invite from PAX. So they're going to, that other event, we're going to ignore the first event. I should be getting the invite from the middle event, and then he will get the invite from the last event before PAX.
Okay.
So everything should be good now.
Awesome.
But yeah. So I guess I'm going to Worlds now.
Yeah.
Inadvertently from PAX, even though the invite's not from PAX.
That's okay. You have an invite, so
Yes.
that'll be cool. That's in March, I think. What, like in 4 more months,
Yes.
maybe? Okay.
Yep.
So that should be super exciting. It's right around the corner, unbelievably.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. Well, cool, man. We'll definitely have to catch up again soon and make sure that we get some practice in. I definitely want to try to play that Yoda list and get some more I guess knowledge on Yoda wisdom, I should say.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, man. All right. I am Shadow Scout 0013, and this is Graham Canadian Bear.
See you later, guys.
And yeah, we will catch y'all later. Y'all have a good one.